Hello, friends. Whoops, I'm assuming that I'm not broadcasting yet. And that assumption may be incorrect. Nope, looks like I am. Well, hello, friends. My name's Dan. Thank you for joining me today. As I say there in the title, I want to take just a few minutes in this broadcast. Hopefully it won't take very long. I'm thinking 15 or 20 minutes, maybe less, to touch up this painting. If you've been following me lately, then you may have caught me doing this painting over the past 9 days. Started last Sunday, and now it's now Tuesday, so I've been working on it off and on throughout that period. And I call it a pretty good painting just because I want to draw a distinction between you're doing final touches on a painting that one might not be totally happy with. I want to draw a distinction between that and the case here, whereas it, in fact, is a painting that I'm fairly happy with, quite happy with, perhaps. So I hope you understand that that's not a bragging statement in any way. I just want to draw a distinction between, as I say, between doing paintings, doing touch-up on a painting that I'm not happy with versus one, as in this case, that I am quite happy with. So the final touches are sort of by definition minor, right? Because I like the painting. This is not a rescue operation. And I do a lot of those. I do a lot of rescue operations, you know. So the first thing you see me doing here is just almost a matter of course. This is, so to speak, what I always do, understanding that there's no such thing as always, but it's a normal thing, and that is doing a glaze. So I'm using liquid. Again, there's what liquid looks like, and it's a little bit of a odoriferous product. It smells a little bit. So I do have some doors open and a fan on here in my studio. And at the moment, I think I've used a little bit of Indian yellow, but mostly oxide red. Okay, so even though this is review for you regulars, why do I normally, like this, why do I do glazes? The answer is quite simple. Because transparent colors are more interesting than opaque colors. Now that doesn't mean I don't want any opaque colors on my canvas, because the principle of variety trumps the principle of transparency. The principle of variety trumps almost everything. We want our marks to be varied, our colors, our values, our textures in art, you know, all things being equal, so to speak, which they never are. We want variety in our artwork. Okay, so now, without cleaning my brushes, so that means they still had dirty, oops, hang on here, I have a mechanical problem. Whoops, hang on. I've had something came unplugged here, so bear with me just for a minute. Hang on, I'm hiding out behind you here. There we go. Okay, that should take care of that. Okay, so I still had oxide red on my brushes, and I've just put ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue, that's a redundancy for all of you artists, but I threw the word blue in there for for any non-artists that might happen to be watching. Here's a funny riddle. I've shared this before, but someone new might be listening. The word ultramarine. It's a particular blue color that artists are very familiar with. Tends toward the cool end of the blue spectrum, that is purplish blue, as opposed to warmish blue, which would be a greenish blue, okay? I'm not going to defend that statement right now. Believe me, I have done so vociferously at many times in the past. Where does the word ultramarine come from? I was so surprised and tickled when I learned this. What a funny world we live in. It means across the sea. Because in Europe, in whatever 14th, 15th century, whenever it was, this new color came from far away, came from across the sea. And so it was called ultramarine, beyond the sea, across the sea. Okay, glazing is done, looks better. I have, besides that, a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little things that I want to fix. Let's start with the windows in the lower left. There are a couple things I want to do with these windows. All right, sorry, I lost you there for a minute. Sorry about that. I'm back, sorry. Technical snafus, which are, for a one-man operation, almost impossible to avoid. So sorry about that. I'm still working on perfecting the technology connected with my broadcast, but we are far from nirvana yet. Okay, so the first thing, I have a list of 8 things I want to fix. The first one is this patch of windows over here. I don't want to do too much to them, but it dawns on me it's a little bit too much dull, almost muddy color. Almost muddy. Hey Bruno, welcome back. Thank you for waiting for me to get back. Sorry about that. So I've just done some transparent glazes on those windows. I'm going to save those brushes for dark details I'm going to do in a little while. Now, in this window, the mullions, the boards, the little wooden dividers that break up windows are called mullions. And I determined that these mullions over here need just a little more contrast and definition, especially this one. The sun's supposed to be hitting that one right there. You're seeing the manner in which my brush is moving, right? I'm painting this with my left hand. I know I don't need to repeat this too much, but as opposed to holding the brush in the death control grip and doing like this, right? Allowing my hand, if you will, to have little incidental movements. Hey, as I was getting ready to, there, that's better. Much better, much better. Okay, while I'm at it, I'm going to jump up to this window up here. Basically the same thing. The mullions, the little board dividers need just a little bit more punch. Again, because sun is supposed to be hitting these directly. Now, I don't want too much attention up here, right? Because it's way over close to the edge of the painting and, you know, a good 15 inches away from the focal point. So not too much, but just a little bit. Okay, so before I started painting a few minutes ago, I was thinking about beauty, and those of us who are in the beauty business, who are trying to produce things of beauty in this case paintings, what is implied by that statement, but rarely stated, is that the artist is always having to guess what the viewer will find beautiful. Okay, those things were not on my list. I just did those. Okay, let's go back to my list here. So with every stroke, I'm measuring, evaluating, thinking, not what do I like, but what would the viewer find beautiful? And that's a guess. I better start crossing these off here, or I'll forget which ones I've done and which ones I haven't. I'm going to go to the grass down here. In fact, I had one of you left a comment the other day saying you thought this grass should be lighter, the way it is in the photograph. And that's a very reasonable suggestion. Now, I actually am going to do a little bit of lightness right here, but it's not because I want the grass lighter. Oh, I had determined that this color green that I had on here, there was a little bit too much of it. So that it was just too uniform. And again, normally uniform is something we don't like in painting. We like variety of color. So I am in fact lightening this, but my viewer said that I should lighten this the way it was in the photograph. And in the photograph, this is all bathed in sunlight, pale yellow, yellow ochre green. Why don't I paint it that way? Well, because that would not serve my purposes at all, but I'm getting ahead of myself. My point that I want to make is that is a very reasonable suggestion. Why don't you paint this light the way it is in the photograph? And the answer to that question is because I am guessing, and please understand, every time we as the artist guess, we might be guessing wrong. Now let me clarify here. I don't mean that we're ever trying to satisfy every single viewer, every single person. That's ridiculous, absurd. It means that we're trying to satisfy the general broad population that may ever someday glance at our painting. Okay? I'm not trying to make everybody happy, but I most certainly am trying to predict what most people will find satisfactory. Okay? And I think that most people will find this painting satisfactory if the green grass here is dark and only a little bit of sun right here close to the focal point. And I feel pretty confident that my guess is correct. You know, I feel confident that that's a correct choice. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right. I absolutely could be wrong, but I think I'm right. And I've, you know, it's years and years and years of experience that have made me think that. So let me stroke that off the list. Let's go to the car here. I made a note to myself, not entirely satisfied. Again, so here I am guessing, just guessing. What do I think the general population, so to speak, how will they take to, how will they like this car? And I'm thinking, yeah, they'll like it pretty much. You hear that squeaky voice, which means I might be wrong. But I decided it needed a few more darks. So that's what I'm doing right now. Transparent darks, the illusion of detail. Really not real detail, but not actual detail, but the illusion, the impression of detail. That's a good way to put, that's how we paint. I don't even have the photograph. I threw it out this morning. I should have kept it a little bit longer, but that's all right. The changes I'm making are very, very slight. I feel like a little dark line right there. So I don't usually speak this way, but even with that little mark that I just did, in my mind, I'm sort of saying, I think most viewers will find this car shape, this blob of paints that suggest car, I think they'll find it a little more fun to look at, if I can use that intentionally non-sophisticated language. I think they'll find it slightly more fun to look at, like right now, if there's a little paler blue highlight right along the doors here. Okay, now I might be completely wrong. That's the humility of being an artist. I don't know what people are going to like. I don't even know what I'm going to like. Next time I look at this painting, then I become the viewer with you all, right? You know that. After the painting is finished, the artist becomes one of the viewers. Again, a little bit of highlight there and here. Let me use an analogy from the world of music just for a minute. Some of you know I'm a fairly serious musician. That is to say, I'm a practicing musician. I actually practice almost every day. When you listen to someone play music, whether it's a serious composer or someone who just writes, I shouldn't say just, someone who writes songs. Okay, a little bit of highlight there in the card. You see that? And I do like it, except that I want to soften this part right there. Okay, I think I'm done. As soon as I say that, I pick up my brush and proceed to do just a little more. Okay. Oh, and there's one definite thing I had on my list. I want to do some reflection. See this pillar? It's a secondary light. Sun hitting this part of the building and bouncing back and hitting this edge of this pillar. And now I'm thinking there should be a little bit of that reflected in this car. Last week I coined a new phrase for me, which is important because, as you know, I'm talking all the time when I'm painting. So anytime I can come up with a new way of saying something, that's a good day. You've heard me say, perhaps, if you've watched me much, you've heard me say that the single most important aspect of a painting is play of light. Play of light. And that does not mean, quote unquote, which way is the light coming from. Beginner painters concern themselves with that question, as they should, but they should not congratulate themselves if they get it right, because then they tend to sit down and say, okay, I got it. When they have gotten really anything right, well, let me say that again. They have gotten the play of light, which, I said that wrong. They have gotten which way is the light coming from correct, but that is not the same as play of light. Anyway, so I just did a little bit of reflection there. Another way to say play of light is this. People don't care what the light is hitting. I said it. They don't care what the light is on. We're not thrilled that the light is on this part of the building. What thrills us is what the light is off. Not what the light is on, but what the light is off. So, getting light on this part of the building, it's okay. But what makes it interesting is the fuzzy areas where the light is bouncing off the light and reflecting on these pillars, reflecting on, and so on and so forth. So just a new way of saying it. We don't care what the light is off. We don't care what the light is on. We care what the light is off. And just a cute way of saying it's bouncing light is what excites the viewer, not resting light. I've never said that before either. So there we go. New expression. It's not resting light that arrests the viewer. There we go. I'm getting really cute now. It is not resting light that arrests the viewer. It is bouncing light. It is active light. That's what excites the viewer. I'm going to try to remember that and talk about that again in the future. It's not resting light that excites, that arrests the viewer. It's bouncing light or active light. I'm not sure which way is the best way to put that. I'll work on it. I'll hash it out in the future. So, for instance, let me zoom in real tight here as much as I can. I don't know if you can see this little part. Let me pick you up and give you an earthquake ride. Sorry about that. Hang on. There you go. So do you see how this blue is bouncing off, glancing off the tailgate of this car? See, that's what our visual brain, our mind, gets a kick out of. We don't get a kick out of the sunlight hitting that tailgate. That does not thrill us very much. I'm exaggerating perhaps. What thrills us is how the light bounces off. Same thing, all of this fuzziness in here where the light is glancing and glowing off. See, those are action words. That's what play of light is. Play of light is action. Okay, now let me stroke this off my list. Car, done. As I have been glancing at this painting over the last several days, it's been sitting downstairs on my downstairs easel, which is right next to the dining room, so at meal times and as I walk throughout the day, I have thought, you know what? I like the subtlety and darkness of this side of the painting. But if I had any criticism at all, it would be that there's not quite enough energy. Now please understand, the danger, the grave danger, the trap that myself and most student painters fall into is too much uniform energy everywhere. Okay, but this is different. Now I'm saying, well, I like that principle, but I feel like maybe not quite enough energy over here, which is an unusual problem. Do you understand me? Now, you won't understand what I'm saying if you don't already understand that the danger is usually too much energy everywhere. That is, another way of saying that is, it's virtually impossible for a painting to have too many soft edges. Let me say it a different way. It's almost impossible for a painting to have too many messy areas. Messy, 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 very messy, very messy, 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 slightly messy, tight messy, slightly tight, but still in a messy way. Okay? Let no one accuse me of not practicing what I preach. Nearly impossible for a painting to have too many mess areas. Very easy for a painting to have too many tight areas. Now here, of course, again, I'm not in the realm of tight, realistic picture painting. You've heard me rant and rave about that so many times. I'll resist the temptation to rant yet again. So I'm not talking about that kind of tight realism, which I still enjoy doing on occasion, but I don't believe it's great painting. I'm talking here about the world that Most of us, I think it's safe to say most of us who inhabit the wanna paint art world, we want to paint like Rembrandt or John Singer Sargent, and I salute, emphatically salute that desire. And again, I'm not going to explain why I do it too many times. I'm just not going to do it now. While I'm talking, I'm just touching up a few things. So if you don't understand, easy for a painting to have too many tight areas, almost impossible for a painting to have too many messy areas, almost. That's the context in which I say, yes, but. This is one of those yes, buts. I think I can use a tiny bit more energy over here, and I think I know what it is. And that is, I think one of these two windows over here should reflect some of the sunlight over here. Now, I'm trying to think like a pool player. If this is the corner, the furthermost corner, right-angle buildings, then, okay, so the distance, that won't do me any good. Let me use a brush here. Let me put down these painty brushes so I don't hit the canvas accidentally. From that corner to this post right there is that far. Ooh, that means that's right between the two windows. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm trying to guess, where could this reflection be? The answer is I'm not going to get reflection of any of this because I don't have a window here where that would reflect. So I'm going to be reflecting further out here. That means the color that I want to reflect is not so much this color as this color. All right. So after all of that, I'm going to do some reflection, I believe, in this window right here. And it had better be pretty loose or it'll violate the what do you call it, the spirit of this part of the painting. It will violate. I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to keep it pretty abstract. And now that I've done that, I might do a little bit in this window too. Who knows? So here I am again, as I was saying earlier, trying to guess, just trying to guess, what will the viewers find satisfactory? Yeah, that might work. I'm going to redraw, scratch the mullions here just a little bit. Now, I'm standing back and squinting at this. Nope. I'm going to dip my rag in the Gamsol. By the way, I've seen several chats go by. Looking forward to responding to those shortly. I just dipped my brush in Gamsol, and I'm wiping that off. Now remember, not only did I wipe that off, I wiped off the glazes that I had done earlier. So let me reinstate some of that glazing, okay? Okay, what I didn't like about that is it was too light and too bright. So I'm going to darken it with some oxide red and some Scarlet Lake, even a little bit of burnt umber. It was too bright. Even some Naphthol crimson, dark red, and some more Indian yellow. Okay, let's try that now. Okay, I think that's better. Now, getting back to the color that I mixed up just a little while ago, that was too light. Now I can come back and do some of that on top of what I just did. Now let me stand back and look at that. Yeah, I think that's correct. Now I have a dark brush here. I'm going to redraw those mullions with dark, transparent, of course. Dark is always transparent. But now that I've put dark paint on the canvas, that means I'm not finished. You always follow up with light. Anytime you put dark, this is one of those laws of painting. Every law can be broken. Doesn't mean you always have to do this, but if you don't know this law, you're probably just screwing up. So here's the law. Here's the rule. Anytime you put dark on the canvas, you follow up with light. That's the rule. And a good painter could say, oh, that's ridiculous. I do that often. And if they're really a good painter, then they're doing it right. They do it some of the time, or they only, anyway, never mind. I'm not gonna chase that down too far. It's possible that they're a good painter, but they don't know this rule. I'm a half decent painter, but evidently there's still some rules I don't know, because I can look at other people's paintings and go, dang, they know something I don't know. And it's my job to try to figure out what they know, not to take the rules that they understand and say, oh, that's ridiculous. That's the arrogance that leads to mediocrity. All right, I'm going to call that good enough. I think that's an improvement. Let me go back to you can see the overall painting again. See just a little more energy down there. And I think that's good. No, I know it is now that I'm seeing it. Yeah, in fact, the mullions, drawing those edges, that's a little spot of more intense energy way over here, and it does make the painting balance out just a little bit better. Okay, next on my list are these two people. You probably didn't know there were people over here. And in fact, that's part of the reason why I want to fix them. I don't want them too glaring. I do want to keep them subtle, but I don't want them quite as subtle as they are. Does that make sense? That's very, very, very delicate balance. So I'm actually going to put some blue on this woman. That will make her stand out just a tiny bit more. There we go. And then I'm going to do some light around them or between their legs in particular. I'm really big at light in between legs. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but see over here, that dot that corresponds to this bit of architecture, that dot and the little light there. I pull that trick a lot. There. And then I looked at it, so well, this should be dark right there. Anyway, I pull this trick of light between people's legs fairly often. So I'm going to do that in this case with the woman here. Now it won't look right if the area behind her legs isn't the same color. It's like sky holes. These be leg holes or sidewalk holes. There we go. I think that's good enough. I'm going to add a tiny bit of dull brown flesh color to her face. And I think her legs are okay. Okay, don't want to overdo it. I think that's good enough. I just have two things left on my list. One is these two windows. This is actually not a window, it's louvered pieces of wood, you know, a vent of some kind, but in a window shape with shutters. When I got downstairs and was able to step back from this painting, I realized, whoa, I have a little perspective issues here. Just a little bit out of whack. So I actually picked up a yardstick downstairs and made some, with pencils, made some correction lines to help me get the perspective correct. So just tiny correction, tiny modification here. This mullion right there, it's slightly off, slightly wrong angle. So I want to fix that. By the way, I had hoped that today I would start my large painting. I'm very excited about doing that. But alas, I have 3 or 4 commission jobs waiting for me to get to them. And here's the realities of life. Those commission jobs are going to pay me. Whereas the large 7-foot tall painting that I'm anxious to get to is not going to pay me immediately. So I need to pay some bills. So that means I'm going to do a couple other small paintings. One of the things that I hope to do better in what I'm calling my G4, 4th generation art career, which I think I'm breaking into finally, is sort of the kind of thing you see me doing right here. Taking the time to get things right, which I haven't always done. Taking the time to make corrections that need to be made. All right, I'm done with that. I just have one thing left on my list, and then I'll be done with the painting, and that is, hang on just a second. I am going to lower this painting because the last thing on the list is a little bit of light blue highlights in the sky. So bear with me just a minute while I lower this easel. Oh, I know what's going on. I had a yardstick clamped to the back of my easel to hold reference photos. It wasn't holding one right now, so anyway, it was blocking. There we go. All right. I think you can see that now, and I can reach it a little better than I could earlier. So last correction, I believe, or last touch-up on this painting. The blue up here in the sky is just a little too uniform. Okay? I said earlier today, uniformity, generally speaking, is not a good thing. Now, uniformity of perspective, yeah. Consistency and perspective, that's a different matter. But sameness of color, sameness of value, sameness of texture, generally speaking, not a good kind of sameness. And here, I've got too much of the same color blue from here to here. And if you're a regular, then you know exactly what I'm going to do here. Even though I've already done it once. I did this, the principle is, or the practice, not the practice is, anytime you put down one color, it's almost a good idea to follow up with a slightly lighter version of that color and come and touch it. I did that in the blue, but now that I've looked at the painting for a couple days, I go, nah, I could use a little more. I need to do that same practice one more time. So here I am with a lighter blue And it's okay if I define, you know, like this, whatever that is, that little thing sticking out the roof. A little more energy up there, just a little more is okay. Scumbling, scumbling. I think just a little bit over here and we'll be done. Now that I've got this color, I'll do a tiny bit on one of these windows too. Again, just drawing a little bit more energy, not much, just a tiny bit. All right, I'm going to call that done. Let me show you the whole painting one more time. Let me move you around here where you can see that perhaps a little bit better. Hang on, I'll move you again. I actually don't have a light on above my painting as I normally do. Oh, that still works. All right, there you go. I typically include a final image of a painting. If I've done much of it on YouTube, I'll include it on my YouTube channel so you can see the finished product there. But lots of chats here, gang. Thank you so much. Let's go back and see what you all are saying. Hi, Bruno. Welcome. Good to see you all the way from Germany. And Lisa Kirk. Bruno suggests, this flew by earlier. I don't know, Bruno, if you're still watching, that I should try Galkid. In your opinion, it works just as well as Liquin without the smell. Yeah, I used Galkid years ago. It was sticky, but I should try it again. It's been many years, and your suggestion is a good one. I'll try to remember that. I will buy a bottle of Galkid and give it a try. You know, again, I was a beginner painter at the time, so I'm willing to try it again. And David says the green could be more green. Could be. Could be. I can't argue with it. There's my guess. I may be wrong. I think that's right. But Galkid gel, that's what I'm going to try. Bruno, thank you, thank you, thank you. And David, you might be right about more green. You know, I mean, there's no end of second guessing, is there? Here, I'm not just doing this because David suggested it. I'm doing it because this won't hurt the painting. This won't damage it. So I'm just thinking, okay, a little bit more light green down here. Maybe. Let me be clear about why am I doing what a viewer suggested? Well, two viewers suggested it. Still, that doesn't mean that it's right. I think I want to indicate that what we're dealing with here is guesses. You know, now I think I'm a pretty good guesser. I'm a good guesser. No, I'm a good artist to the extent that I'm a good guesser. The people that are really, really, really good are really, really, really good at predicting what the viewers will feel happy looking at. And there's a lot of flexibility in that. So that's why part of why I'm doing this is like, okay, watch. Now I'm being very gentle, as you can see. But it's a reasonable guess. And I'm not violating myself. I'm taking the suggestion. That's all I'm going to do. Maybe it's a better painting. I don't think it's any worse. Might be slightly better. So who knows? David is used to me paying attention to, you know, not blowing off his comments, which I don't. So, Michael, sweet. I agree. So lots of discussion about the green grass. That's fun. Thank you, David. David comes through, who does not throw out his compliments quickly. He says it's a beautiful masterpiece. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Good. Bruno gives me a thumbs up for the reflection in the windows. Thinker888 asks a very good question. I hope you're still listening, or you can watch the replay. He asked, do I ever paint fat people? Oh my, no, generally speaking, no. I have a whole lecture on that as to why I don't. The reason is because these figures in a painting like this, they're to represent, and my gesture is important, they're to represent, you know, people. Ordinary, general. They're not to represent specific people. And so they are, frankly, they're the shape of mannequins that you see in the store window, in the dress window. Are you with me? When you're in the mall, you walk down past all these clothing stores, they all have mannequins in the window, and they're all size 0 or 1. We don't look at that and say, this store only sells, maybe we do, but we don't usually. We don't say this store only sells to size 0 or 1 people. Women is men don't pay attention to that kind of stuff at all. No, what they're saying is these mannequins just represent, you know, people. And that's the way they are in my paintings. If I make them chubby, then I'm conveying something very particular. For instance, if I wanted to indicate that this was a retirement home or a nursing home, then I would make them chubby and hunched over so you get the feeling they were old. Or if I was doing a painting of a farm and I wanted to show that the farmer was old, I might make him chubby. Do you see? I'm trying to make a point in that case. But if I'm not making a point, then they're just, you know, again, my gesture, people. So, no, I always make my people thin so that, in a sense, they're easily ignored. Like a mannequin. You're not supposed to study the mannequin. You're supposed to ignore the mannequin and look at the clothing. Okay? And that's the way this is. You're not supposed to study the people. You glance at them, you see that they're people. You're not disturbed by the fact that they're atypical or non-average. They're just supposed to be average. Of course, when I say average, I mean average ideal, not average chubby. Most Americans are chubby. But if I make them chubby, they get too much attention. They go, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm a chubby person. And I don't want that. I want the viewer just saying, oh yeah, those are people. Does that make sense? Very good question, Thinker888. And then Bruno says, why should he paint me? David says, think the green is the reflection of the main entrance. Oh yeah, right. It is indeed. Exactly, David. That's where that green is coming from. And I do kind of like that I added a little bit more green down there. So thank you guys. Well, thanks guys. Appreciate it. Very good comments. I appreciate it very much. This broadcast gone a little bit longer than it could have, but it's been fun, been profitable. Thank you for your help. I am happy with this, happy to say. So I'm going to deliver this to Carolina Inn in Chapel Hill, and I hope they'll do something nice with it. Like hang it up. I'm going to give them permission to reproduce it for marketing purposes. All right. Thanks, guys. Hopefully, I'm going to do more broadcasting today. I never got to the calligraphy last night. David. I said that last Friday. I think that's what you're referring to. Yeah, I'm still anxious, but I do have 2 commissions I need to start this afternoon. And then I'm most excited about the 7-foot painting, 7-foot tall painting. I got my easel in the driveway ready to go, but that won't be today. Today I need to make money. So thanks for watching. I'll be back in just